Department of Defense Directive 31-15-16, November 5th, 2013, Undersecretary of Defense Intelligence and Security, subject of the Defensive Warning Network, see Enclosure 1, purpose of the Directive of the Sales Policy Assignment, responsible to provide guidance to the defense of the warning net with the DoD in accordance with the authority of the Title 10 United States Code for reference. A. Pursuant to the DoD Directive 524001, reference B, the Defense of Intelligence must provide warning threats, warning capability, intent, in an accurate, timely manner to provide national defense decision-making with a wide range of options consistent with the DoD instruction 5105-18 with a reference here with the tab of the Defense Warning Council with a form review over the Defense Warning Network, initiative the issuing requiring timely sending a level of attentive concurrence and support of the Enclosure 2. Applicable to the Director of the apply with the Office of Secretary of Defense Military Department's Office of the Chairman, Joint Chief of Staff of the Joint Staff of the Combat Commander with the Office of the Inspector General of the Department of Defense, the Defense Agent of the DoD Field Activities, other organizational entity of the DoD referred to collectively directed with it as of the DoD components. So we have Defensive Warning Council and the Defensive Warning Network. DoD policy with the DoD earliest possible awareness, possible threat, vulnerability, opportunity to emerge for the circumstances. DoD has requisite capability to identify with the set of the relevant events with the situation, environment, the broad time horizon to provide with the earliest possible alert to appropriate leadership of the DoD with a potential risk of U.S. interests. DoD warns function like this is an interaction between intelligent consumers of the production generated with the request of context, lead time and the reduce of the risk of the increase of the opportunity success for the action that drift the situation critically involved with the U.S. interest of the DoD warning include an internal risk assessment will be informed with a high level of risk assessment, capture potential implication, cascading effect of the associated consequence of the DoD warning's mission, is identified with the warn appropriate leadership of the DoD potential threats, both of adversely political, economic instability, fail with the failing state with any other emerging changes collected could affect with the United States with the interest of the worldwide, include with the warning attack with the United States with the allies conflict that could require employment U.S. and allied forces capability warnings and status collapse of the failure that could trigger with the employment of the U.S. of the allied force for the capability warning terrorist, political, and economic, military, technological, energy, environmental, social, and societal, other development that could influence with the development and implementation of defense policy, operational contingency plan, force capability, identifying with evading threat, vulnerability to address potential opportunity, the associated U.S. interest, objectives, assasses, policy plans, ongoing operation activity, the informed debates, moment of decision, intelligence, operational consumer with the DoD with potential implementation, the cascading effects, unintended consequences that could affect with the proposed U.S. policy plans, action, response to emerging foreign events and trends. DoD integrates relevant intelligence enterprise stakeholder of the exercise of the warning capability of the Defensive Warning Network, promote the collaborative environment of the technology support of the flow of the range warning function of the role of the DoD interest to promote integration of the warning capabilities, respectively the assessment with the Office of Secretary of Defense Joint Chiefs of Staff policy planning process, the concept of the execution, provide long-range strategic warning to appropriate leadership of the Department of Defense events for the good channel of the U.S. military permanence for the beyond the further years of the defense program, provide with the warning related to intelligence appropriate leadership within the DoD, supported the CCMD with the Joint Staff of the Operational Plan Development, kept alive with the work done by the Red Teams pursuant to the Joint Chairman, Joint Chief of Staff, and that's GTTG 04001Z0 to October 11th, December, reference D with the across the DoD with the development independent of the asset, estimate potential of the outcome of the ambiguous environment to develop the comprehensive warning document, education training programs, intelligence and operational consumer with the DoD, setting requirements to meet with the DoD component with the comply with the reference B with the DoD manual 524001 with the reference E with the execute with the intelligence related activity support, defensive warning network, responsibility C enclosure to 3, the reusability clear public release of the directive is available. The directive of the division website of ESDWHS, the mail of DOS, DoD, predictive of the directive of the division is effective December 5th, 2013. Summary change of the administrative of the change update with the number of the Secretary of Defense Intelligence under Secretary of Defense Intelligence and Security in accordance with the Public Law 11692 with the reference F. Ashton B. Carter, Department Deputy Secretary of Defense, and enclosure 1 reference to the Department of Defense Warning Network Function Coordination Responsibility and Glossary. We have references. We have Title 10 United States Code, Department of Defense Directive 524001, Defense of Intelligence Agency, the Department of Defense Instruction 5105-18, DoD Intergovernmental Management Program, Chairman, Joint Chief of Staff Message, Joint Intelligence Operations Center, Executive Order Modification, DoD Manual 5240-01, Procedure Governing Conduct of the DoD Intelligence Activity, National Defense Authorization Act, Fiscal Year 2020, or Secretary of Defense Intelligence Security, Defense Intelligence Agency, National Security Agency, Central Service Security Services, National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, Under Secretary of Defense and Policy, National Intelligence Priority Framework, Office Chairman, Joint Chief of the Staff of the DoD Dictionary, and Military Associated Terms of Current Edition. Enclosure 2, the Defensive Warning Network Function Coordination Function of the Defensive Warning Network enable the warning mission among the within the DoD component function of a collaborative enterprise with a holistic assessing warnings of a key country with a significant events of the issue of support under Secretary of Defense Intelligence and Security with the efforts of improvement of warning enable the defense intelligence enterprise with the contribute the warning mission with the integrate of the warning concept with the integrate with the overall intelligence and analytical endeavor of the warning to support with the mission function with the broad spectrum of the DoD component reflecting full scope of the U.S. interest with also mounting with the warning concern with the base of the individual requirement to do with the DoD component provide with the warning appropriate leadership of the DoD and the time with the situation information from the DoD all allow the DoD leader with the proactively conforming comfort and confront emerging challenges leverage opportunity to mitigate the impacts or private the product produce strategic outcomes over able to the United States facilitate availability with the DoD component with the contribute the warning eclans and with the support with the DoD organization Department of Defense mission requirement enhances collaboration network interaction between the DoD warning and intelligence provided for the consumer and the in-state of the defensive warning network full integration of the defensive warning related with the intel of the DoD process with the practices of the collaborative nature of the defensive warning network benefit the evaluation minority analytical options of the often disconnect with the general analytical process full evaluation ultimately hypothesis that will be better to ensure the warning consideration conveying to the decision policymakers encompassing with a range of valid threat and perspective. Defensive Warning Council purpose of the Defensive Warning Council was the primary issue form with coordinating activity reaching the consensus of the issue of the related with the Defensive Warning Network of the issue and the warning in particular situation new order over the battle information recommendations to inform senior DoD leadership that refer to the Department of Defense Defensive Warning Network and issue the issue with the emerging warning concerns require senior level of concerning support with the update of the military intelligence board and senior military intelligence officer for the conference of other issues related to the Defensive Warning Network management and membership of the Defensive Warning Council limited to pursuing the U.S. government with the officer of the employee with the Defensive Warning Council compromise voting member to non-voting advisory with the member to the non-member to the ad hoc advisory with the voting membership with the consistent of the representative empowered to provide information from and the coordinator with on behalf of the DoD Organization Defensive Warning Council voting membership with consist of the Chief Chairman Joint Chief of Staff of the serves as the Chair Undersecretary of Defense Intelligence and Security Director of the Defense Intelligence Agency Director of the National Security Agency Chief Chancellor of Security Services Director of National Geospatial Intelligence Agency Secretary of Military Departments Combat Commanders non-voting advisory membership with consist of the Undersecretary of Defense of the policy with the power to provide advice for the information necessary to the issue of the relay with the Defensive Warning Network depending on subject matter consideration Defensive Warning Council. The Defensive Warning Council may solicit advice of the information non-member of the non-voting ad hoc vote advisors, no member ad hoc advisors representative provide advice and information deemed necessary by the Defensive Warning Council on behalf of the organization or government with a non-member to ad hoc advisor that may include the officer of the director of the National Intelligence, Central Intelligence Agency of the Defense of the State with the Intelligence Research Bureau with the National Reconnaissance Office, Defensive Intelligence Agency organization additional with the director of the Defensive Intelligence Agency with the provide intelligence product with the related with the subcommittee within the consideration of the Defensive Warning Council. Foreign government officer of the employer provide with the participation of the Defensive Warning Council the matter of the DoD with the applicable with the National Disclosure Policy, Export Control Regulations, U.S. law with the regulation, foreign government with a non-member of the ad hoc advisor with the made most permanent officer of the employee with their representative. Respective governments participating must approve by the Defense Warning Council on a case-to-case basis. Some of the United States government department and agencies selected with the Chairman Joint Chief of Staff based on the Defense Warning Council requirements and activities. Closure 3 responsibilities. Under Secretary of Defense Intelligence and Security consistent with the Department of Defense Directive 514301 reference sheet under Secretary of Defense Intelligence and Security established oversee the implementation of DoD policy warning equities capabilities requirement representation DoD warnings in interest of the defense of the national intelligence community establish the DoD budget resource training education for requirements to fulfill the DoD intelligence warning mission intelligence implement defensive and intelligence roles and responsibility with the Defensive Warning Network, serve as a member, provide with the representative of the Defensive Warning Council, director of the Defensive Intelligence, Agency, authority, direction, control of the Undersecretary of Defense Intelligence, consistent with the Department of Defense Directive 5105-21, reference agency of the Director of Defensive Intelligence, provide regional, functional intelligence, subject matter expertise with the warning mission and the task of the direct support with the DoD components, establish mechanism, incorporate warning perspective of the current crisis, strategic intelligence support, build a sustainable warning analytical capability, craft of defense with intelligent enterprise, with implementing analytical competence, professional development, pathways training with those education programs, emphasis with the warning intelligence function with the trade craft, with established procedure with the DoD components will use to verify the compliance, DoD policy governing intelligence support over the defensive warning network, the defense collection manager, ensure collection challenge with capability limitations, integrate with the defensive warning network discussion and assessment, may provide insight with the collection posture of the gaps of the defensive warning network, provide defensive warning network, defensive warning council request adjustment of collection posture, such as addressing gaps and emerging concerns, specifically define and increase the likelihood of the consequence. Respond to request for the appropriate leadership of the DoD with increase the collection emphasis of the warning prior to the appropriate support, the junction effort with is required, provide with the collaborate, open all source intelligence analysis products for the warning equities relevant to the defensive warning network and members of the defensive intelligence enterprise, and to elevate the visibility concern of the consumers. Serve as a member provided by the representative of the Defensive Warning Council, provided by the administrative management support of the Defensive Warning Council. DIRNSA-ACHSCSS direction of the Undersecretary of Intelligence consists of the Department Directive 5120, reference I of the DIRNA-SACHSS, provides signal intelligence, cybersecurity information, emerging issues, support with the warning mission, defense intelligence enterprise, support monitoring, review, assessments, reporting signal intelligence, cybersecurity information, DoD, and during warning concern, conveying warning, foreign development of the defense condition that could threaten to adversely affect the U.S. interest of the objective of the policy action in accordance with the applicable policy and procedures. Collaborative with appropriate elements with the under strategic command to provide with the warning hostile cyber attacks to DoD with the U.S. government and U.S. critical infrastructure networks, emphasize promote warning with the National Security Agency, Central and Security Services, and mission serve with a member of the provide representative of the Defensive Warning Council, Director of the National Geospatial Agency with authority direction under Secretary of Defense Intelligence Agency consistent with the Department Directive Defense Directive 5105-65 of the Director of the National Geospatial Agency provides geospatial intelligence and emerging issues support with the warning mission with the Defense of Intelligence Enterprise support monitoring and review and assessment of the report DoD and during warning concerns, conveying warnings for and development events of the condition could threaten to be adversely U.S. interest objective policies active in accordance with the applicable policy and procedures, collaborates appropriate elements with the under strategic command to provide warning hostile nuclear mission attacks, missile attacks, U.S. soil interests and global partners, emphasize with the promote warning primary geointelligence analyst mission within the National Geospatial Agency, broad national system of geointelligence, and serve the member of the provide representative of the Defensive Warning Council, Under Secretary of Defense Personnel with the DoD Instruction 5111-1, Under Secretary of Defense Personnel, serve with the advisor with the provide representative, serve with the advisory with the Defensive Warning Council, Secretary of the Military Department, Secretary of Military Departments provide warning related to information in the Defensive Warning Network with emerging science and technology developments affected with the current figure, ensure the U.S. weapon system development, implementing warning doctrine, training, education, and appropriate U.S. Armed Forces personnel with ensure the service of red time and the alternative of the analysis product available to the Defensive Warning Network and to serve members provide representative of the Defensive Warning Council with the respect with the Military Department Chairman, Joint Chief of Staff with the provide strategic joint vision, guidance, leadership with the ensure the warning capabilities integrated with the Joint Staff with the CCMD, direct integration on warning perspective with the concern of the Defensive Warning Network, mission capabilities, requirements, appropriate joint staff process, established mechanism, foster formal interaction between warning intelligence with appropriate chairman, joint chief of staff, adversely affect elements, as well as joint staff with strategy, policy, and planning operational exercise elements, advocate inclusion with the warning perspective of the risk assignment of the chairman, joint chief of the task, and initiative as appropriate. As appropriate, integrates with the warning analysis perspective of the joint staff of the capability planning order of the U.S. military plans and operation, of the designated joint staff leader support with the warning mission, of the DoD Council The DoD warning concept embedded with the National Joint Operation Intelligence Center and Operation of the CCMD with appropriately coordinated with the Service Military Department within the Military Department, the Director of Joint Staff Intelligence, Director of the Defensive Warning Network day-to-day basis, and come over the Defensive Warning Network by providing coverage of warning issues requiring the integration of the two or more Defensive Warning Network defense intelligence components, the implementing tool of the process procedures coordinated with the warning function of the Defensive Warning Network, monitoring performance of defense intelligence components, execution of defensive warning function, providing evaluation, Chairman, Joint Chief of the Undersecretary of Defense Intelligence and Security, Military Department, CHCSS, Director of National Geospatial Intelligence, Director of Defensive Intelligence Agency, as appropriate, serve as the Principal Advisor, Joint Staff of the Office of Secretary of Defense, all matters pertaining warning defensive network, operating intelligence element of the National Joint NJOIC, providing indications of warning, security, defense, Chairman, Joint Chief of Staff, service mechanism, coordinated with the Defense Intelligence Agency, Deputy Director, Analysis, Incorporated Warning Perspective of the Current Crisis of Strategic Intelligence Support, Joint Staff, Established Warning Partnership with the Office of Secretary of Defense, Joint Staff, CCMDs, to promote routine interactions, situational awareness, warning concern with a mutually informative environment, with interaction, allies, key partners, the advance understanding of the cooperation, common work, warning concern policy pursuit of the benefits practice, Chairman, Defensive Warning Council serve as the principal advisor of the Joint Staff of the Office of Defense, partner of the Defense with Intelligence Analytical Experts, identify, access, convey with the relevant assessment of the emerging warning concern for the consumers, ensure intelligence, subject matter expertise, warnings, perspective, and inform the consumer policy planning and operation, exercise the development concept, the execution, and coordinate with the Defense Intelligence Agency, the Deputy Director for Analysis, in collaboration with the Department of Defense Intelligence Officer for the provide strategic perspective, warning, implementation, existing emerging events, with evaluate visibility, risk of the Joint Staff of the Office of Secretary of Defense audiences, consult with the Office of Secretary of Defense Joint Staff of the CCMD with the Intelligence Combat Support Agency with the Defense and DNI, appropriate to ensure the warning policies and procedure of the optimal of the DoD warning capability process coordinated with the Defense with Intelligence Agency, the Deputy Director of Analysis. Alright, with the DoD liaison with the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, warning secretary with the other allies, and partner with the concern with the warning policy of the doctrine with the process of the procedure with the identify with the validate, except for the adjunction with the responsible with the Joint Staff with the CCMD with the Military Department of addressing key foreign intelligence warning matter with the consist of the National Intelligence Priority Framework for the described intelligence and community directive with 204 reference L. Maintain the defensive warning executive staff with the procedure of the warning mission management, leadership of warning analysis, managing the defensive warning virtual presence with knowledge management capability with the Department of Defense, combat commander with the combat commander with the provide guidance with the combat commander with the intel with the operation planning with the elements of the role of the responsible with the defensive warning network, execute intelligence from the warning mission, include with the action of some of the national of the DoD and during the warning concern with the director with the chairman, joint chief of the draft director of the Defense Intelligence Agency, integrate with the appropriate subject matter with the intelligence with the expertise with the warning perspective with the name of the operation plan with the extra with the concern, concept of the execution with the maximum of the red team capability support with the warning mission and the forward with the red team with the product with the director with the defense with intelligence aid, the database integrated and it's appropriate. Establish appropriate combat commander of the mission with the measure of the pressure with the identify with the asset with the combat commander with the drift with the regional development defense, whose executive could threaten adversely for the effect of the U.S. interest with the power of the U.S. DoD combat commander with the objective of the policy and plan, policy actions and activities that is at risk the present opportunity for the further U.S. objectives. For the combat commander of the War and Policy Program, issue of the requirement of the Defense of the War Council is appropriate support with the integrated with the development and implementation warning doctrine training, experimentation and exercise. Each service serve as a member of the provide with the representative of the Defense of War Council, warning council for the respect of the combat commander. Glossary, we have Combat Commander Chair, Joint Chief of the Staff of Defense of Intelligence, and the Defense of the National Security Agency, Chief Central Security Service of the Director of National Intelligence, Defense of the Director of the Defense of Instruction, Defense of Warning Council, Defense of Warning Network, Geospatial Intelligence, National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, National Joint Operation Intelligence Center, Undersecretary of the United States Government, and Undersecretary of Defense of Intelligence Security, Undersecretary of Defense of Policy, and then we have glossaries, and we are done with the Defensive Warning Network, Department of Defense Directive 5031-1516.